You're listening to the Prosperity Report Love and Money podcast. Find out what every couple needs to become a winning team in love and money. We bring you actionable ideas from expert therapists and experienced married couples, helping you stay happily married longer. Stay tuned until the end. We'll leave you with a tip you can start using today in our 5-minute activation segment. Now here's your host, best-selling author, speaker, and psychotherapist, Khary Lewis.
Welcome to Prosperity Report, Love and Money Podcast. It's wedding season as this podcast airs, and I want to say congratulations to all the pros out there that are getting married this year. Thank you for being a member of the Prosperity Club and allowing me to go on this journey with you as you get on the path to happiness and raise the love and money in your life. If you are getting married and you want to plan your marriage like you planned your wedding, or if you have been married for a while but you never really put together a prosperity plan, then listen all the way to the end, because our 5-minute activation today is all about giving you tips on how to create your prosperity plan. Okay, so now on to our show. Our guest today has many professional accolades, like recently retiring as the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Twin Cities, as well as serving on both for-profit and nonprofit boards. She also has personal accolades like putting her marriage first for 46 years, raising 2 sons, and being a grandmother. Gloria Lewis discusses how to navigate things like financial struggles, raising children, job promotions, and cross-country moves. Please join me in welcoming our guest today, Gloria Lewis. Hey, Gloria.
Hi, Khary. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for agreeing, because obviously you have done more than enough to rest right now, and I'm getting on your schedule with my podcast. So thank you for giving us some time.
Well, it's my pleasure.
So one of the first questions that I ask every guest, we're going to start with that one, and then we're going to go into how you put the marriage first. But I also want to talk to you about some of your experience, just as a working woman and all of the accolades and accomplishments that you've had over the years. But let's start with, what is your idea of prosperity?
Prosperity to me is about happiness. It is about being your best self. It is about learning and doing and using it for your betterment. And I guess the other part, as everybody thinks of prosperity, is having the resources you need, money.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't put that first at all. I put all those other things ahead. And I believe, and I've experienced, when you do that, the money will come, and then it's up to you to know how to use it.
So it sounds like your idea of prosperity is mostly about being your best self, continuing to learn, really honing in on what makes you happy, and then the money and the resources come from there.
Right.
Yeah.
I do believe that. And I think that sometimes married couples think we got to make this money and we're going to make it. It doesn't always work out that way. So you got to find a way to be happy with what we have now, and then build it and work as a team to make it happen.
Yeah. And one of the things we joke about at Presidential Lifestyle, my company, I say that money can't buy happiness. You just have to invest some of it in financial therapy. And part of financial therapy is that part, knowing what makes you happy and knowing what you guys are doing as a team, like really having your mission down. In one of our episodes, Love, Money, and Mission, we talked about the marriage money mission, and it's also a course that I do. And that's what you just said. What I heard you say is put the team in place, put the goal in place, and then the team works towards the goal, but don't get off course by just focusing on the goal. You got to put the marriage first.
Exactly. And sometimes I'll add that it's not that you want to get off focus. Things can happen that can knock you off focus. But the thing is getting back onto it.
Yes. So that kind of brings me to our next question, which is, how do you get back on focus? Because people probably are saying, well, I want to put the marriage first, but then we have kids, and I want to put the marriage first, but my mom got sick and she had to move in. I want to put the marriage first, but I want to take this job in this other city, and we're fighting about that. So as things happen in life, what do you do to keep yourself putting the marriage first to be able to do that?
Well, I think all those things are part of the marriage because they're going to happen. And
Mm,
then what you sort of look at is, okay, how much of this can I put myself into? And we need to talk about this. I don't really like your mother, but if she has to live with us, then we're
mhm.
going to do this. But we need to make sure that there are some things that put us first in it. And I don't think
Yeah.
people talk about that enough. It's, well, this is what's going to happen and we're going to do it. Well,
Hmm.
that just doesn't always work out. And I've certainly experienced, especially the thing about moving. We lived in 6 or 7 cities.
Wow.
And the reason we did that is I knew when I got married that I was marrying a minister. I didn't know that I was going to be moving around the country. However, that ended up to be so because of changing congregations or moving into the hierarchy of the church in terms of management.
Mm.
And because we never lived around family, so we really had to depend on each other. And even when family was saying, "Oh, you're just like a rolling stone, gathers no moss, you're just running all over the place," but we were happy doing it together.
Yeah.
We had a child in different states, one in New York and one in Cleveland, Ohio. But we were together. We were happy with it. We did what we did. We took risks. We made goals. If family got mad with us, we just say, well, that's them. That's on them, not us. I'm fine. And it's
Right.
hard for some people to do that, but it is something you have to do. Is to say, you know what, this is about us. Now we can
Yeah.
include you and we can help you, but first of all, this is about us. And
Yeah.
so us will have to make that decision as to what we can do and how much that we can do so that it doesn't stress out the other person too much.
Yeah, I like that. This is about us. And that's a great sentence that many couples should maybe print out and put up on the wall, because a lot of times you get confused because, you might be used to listening to your mom's voice tell you what to do, but when you get married, that voice goes down. It shouldn't be as loud as, the us voice. And so that's a really great point. And maybe you're used to listening to your friends or whoever you used to get advice from or to make decisions with, but now you're making decisions in a different way. And then you have to recommit to that way of decision making over and over again.
Exactly, exactly. And it doesn't mean you don't love your mother. It doesn't mean that you ain't crazy about your girls. It doesn't mean that, not, and your daddy told me this and da 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 da. And it doesn't mean that his mother has to tell him everything. Well, my mother did it this. Well, that was your mama. And I love her too, but this is our house. And the thing is, it's about our and us. And so that's what I think is important. And I think too many people zoom off into another direction because marriage is hard work. And I am here to testify to it. It is hard work.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for making it clear. Yes. So you got to be willing to do that.
You do. You have to be willing. I've always said, I looked a certain way when you met me, and I will continue to look that way because not only do I want to, but you like it. And secondly, you shouldn't do anything to me that would bring me down so that I don't.
Mm,
And I won't do that to you.
yeah.
So we've always had this thing. We've always worked out. I love to shop. So, of course, I want my clothes and I want them to look a certain way. And there's always keeping in mind for women in particular, there's nothing wrong with looking so good that he goes,
Hmm.
and you should because you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And you should. Nobody said once you got married, you had to fall into a hole and turn into I don't know what, especially after you have children. And
Yes.
yes, marriage comes before those kids because those kids are going to learn that from you. They're going to learn and understand my mommy and daddy love each other. And what does that mean? kids are fine with that. They're not interested in all of, they want you to do things with them, and you definitely got to take care of them. But they need to know more about what's your relationship like.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. I'm going to come back there, but I want to, before, it's two things I want to address that you said. One is so funny because, so one of your sons, Khary, is going to be on another episode, and he said something similar to what you just said that he learned with his wife, and that is you came into this marriage looking a certain way or doing certain things, and you got to let people continue to do those things. You can't try to change them once they get in the marriage. So that's awesome and great advice, because that's also putting the marriage first too, because part of the marriage is knowing who you married, which takes me to the second point, is that you talked about, you knew that you married a minister, but you didn't know that meant that you were going to be moving all around. So what was that like, accepting the part that you didn't know?
Well, it was really interesting. Gee, you're making me think back to when we first got married.
And I love that story.
I remember we were in Boston before we got married, and we both had great jobs. We were making, money, whatever we thought was money, and we were hanging out and partying. And then all of a sudden, I was in Cleveland with a man who was now wearing a collar. And I'm looking at him like, oh, that's cute. And then I do remember we moved into our house, and I didn't unpack. So Craig came home one day from church, and he said, what's going on, honey? All the boxes are here. You need me to stay home? I said, why are we unpacking? We're not staying here. And he said, honey, let's sit down and talk. We are staying here because I am now pastor of a church. And as I said, I knew he was, but then that really hit me as the reality of it.
Right.
And then we just decided we're going to make this, okay, so you're the pastor of the church, that's cool. I'm going to be here. We're going to work through this. We're not going to lose who we are. We still like to go out. We still like to have fun. We can do that. That does not stop life. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I was fine. We moved on, and we stayed in one place for 6 years. Then we moved to another place for 4 years. But I got to see a lot of things. We got to do a lot of things together that are memories for us now.
Yeah.
As we have aged and gone through so many things. And one of the things that Craig, my husband, who I love dearly, one Christmas he wrote me this card, and I still have the card. And in it he said, the God of prosperity is also the God of adversity. And understanding that adversity makes you appreciate prosperity. You will never live on this earth without some adversity.
Wow.
And that is something that we both remember, because when you come out of adversity, you're so happy.
Yes.
The thing is, when you, as a married couple, we come out of it together, it's doubly happy.
Yeah.
Because you all had to stay in there and fight whatever it was. And even if it's about your relationship, sometimes you got to take the time to look at it and say, what in the world made me love you? Good grief.
Yeah.
And you can ask each other that question. I said, why do you love me? That's another, we ask, do you love me too much? I think sometimes, because if you don't know somebody loves you, their actions speak louder than words. So I always believe that. And then make it your fun thing to do. We can laugh about it now, and before we were laughing about it the other night when I said, you don't love me anymore, do you? And Chris said, don't ask me again, please. It's like, after 40, I said, because you ain't got nowhere else to go, so you may as well stay on over here and love me. And we were just laughing about it.
Right. And I think that also happens as you grow together, and I guess you see the faults. You've seen it all, right? And so eventually...
Oh, yeah, you've seen it all.
Yeah.
You've seen it all, the good, bad, the ugly, and the uglier.
Right. And so you forget about that fairy tale that they talk about in the movies, and you really just focus on what you have. And when you just work, because it sounds like through all the things that you guys have been through, from different cities to children to, professions, I think what stayed the constant was that you guys worked together well.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of respect for each other. And that's key. If you don't respect, and support your partner. I don't care what in the world happened. If Khary Lewis thinks that somebody is not respecting me or whatever, they better look out. As he said, if you don't like Gloria, I don't like you. That is the truth. He has always said that. And I'm like, well, Khary, no, because I know who you are. And now they get nothing from me. And I don't know. That doesn't work. And I don't know if Khary said this to you, but Kyrie's always saying we're the blueprint.
Oh.
And that makes me feel good. I hope he's using it as a blueprint, but everybody has their own marriage and their own way of doing things. The thing is, how do you stay in there together, and make it for the long haul?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the reasons why I started this podcast, was because society talks about the 50% of marriages that fail. And I don't know the statistics anymore, but they used to say 50% of marriages fail. I don't even focus on it. But what I do focus on are the ones that stay together. And not that every single day was some sort of fairy tale or movie, but they stayed together and they made it through successfully. Each adversity turned into a prosperity. That's part of the reason why. But the other part of it was I was listening to the society version of marriage, even though I've known you guys over 20 years. So I had clear blueprints, examples. My parents, I have so many couples that I can look to as examples, but I wasn't paying attention to them. I was only paying attention to what society told me. So I was like, I don't want to get married. That's how I felt. But then when I opened my eyes, I'm like, wait a minute. I have so many successfully married people around me. Why am I stuck on this idea that I got when I was 12 from society and not taking their advice or taking, their example or seeing them as the blueprint and just kind of like learning from them? So that's why I started this podcast. So you guys, to me, are a blueprint.
Well, thank you. Now, there are things that within a marriage that can break your heart. How do you overcome your heart being broken? And that is, when something is broken, it needs to be fixed.
Mm.
And it takes two people to fix a broken heart. The one whose heart that is broken and the one who broke it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is important to know. There are going to be hiccups and slip-ups, and it can be affairs.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen to either one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always the man that had the affair. It could be the one. But do you truly love each other to know enough to come back and, one, talk about it, and two, figure out, say, you know what? What is it that caused you to do this? And I'm going to say this to women. Men are driven by their penis. I'm so sorry to tell you that, but they really are.
That's true.
If they had as many brains as they had in their head that went down to their lower parts, they'd be a lot better off. But they don't. And I'm saying that to say, people who demand absolute monogamy and absolute fidelity to me only, you're going to need to kind of look at that. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to kind of need to think about, what is it that we need to get back? Because I'm going to be pissed off for a long time. So I bet you by the time I get all right, you'll be all right too.
Right.
A long time. I mean, it's just going to be like, yeah, uh-huh. And the thing is, don't cut your nose off to spite your face.
Yes.
But if it is something that is really harmful and detrimental to you, then get out of it.
Yeah.
Because there was something wrong with it in the beginning.
Yep.
And I tell you that you probably knew about it, but you said, but after we get married, it's going to be all right. Because after we get married, it's going to be all wrong. And then that's really, I say that as I knew that I wanted to marry my husband. He wanted to marry me more than I wanted to marry him at one point. Because I remember the first time he told me, I love you, I said, no, you don't, because you don't know me. And I really meant that. How you don't love me? You just met me a month and a half ago.
Wow.
And you love me? No. I said, no, you can't, because you don't know me. Wait till you find out, then you'll find out whether you love me or not. I said, because I'm putting my good self to you right now. Let me have one of my Gloria fits and you'll figure out. But it was okay because I loved him too. And I knew it, but I wasn't going to tell him.
Right.
But right. And ours was really a fairy tale relationship. We met at a party. We were with different people. We switched off on the different people that night because I thought the woman with him was his wife because she kept following him around everywhere he went. And I said, oh, well, I can forget him because she's certainly on him. I said, but he is cute. I really like him. Next thing I know, he comes over, asks me to dance. We danced a couple of times. I leave the party with the people I said, take me back to my apartment. They said, well, I said, take me back. I'm leaving because I was with a blind date, which is one of the worst things on earth. And I left and he took his date home and he met me back at my apartment and we were living in Boston then, to New Hampshire, and set out on the beach all of the rest of the night until the next morning, just talking.
Wow.
And that was it. He didn't touch me because I'd have killed him. But anyway, we did. We just talked and we laughed and we had real interesting things. I didn't know that his parents were my landlords.
What? I didn't
Yes,
even know that part.
his
Okay.
parents, because when he said that to me, he asked me where I lived. And I told him, he said, you can't live there. And I said, you know what? That is exactly why I don't bother with people. I tell you where I live, you're going to tell me I can't live there. Who the heck are you? I really did, because it ticked me off. I mean, what do you mean? I'm going to make up where I live? I said, it doesn't make any sense to me. He just looked at me like, daggone, she really. I said, well, I'm just telling you. And then when he said, you know who Mr. Lewis is? I said, oh my God. Craig's parents live downstairs. My girlfriend and I had an apartment upstairs. And I could not believe it. We ended up knowing the same people who went to Harvard. We had the same musical taste. That how many Black people you know listen to the Beach Boys? Well, we did. And had all their records. So it was the same shameful thing. But, you know, it was sort of like, oh my God. And
Yeah.
we never broke up throughout the time we were dating. And we never had a fight. We weren't apart. You know, it was just cool. You know, when we almost broke up because I told him that, you know, we weren't engaged yet. I was leaving to move to Atlanta. And I said, I wish you all the luck in your new congregation, wherever you're going, but I'm not going with you because I'm not married to you. And so he said, so within a month, I had an engagement bracelet, which was, so he got real creative. But anyway, all of that was back there, and that's for 46 years, and I'm still wearing that diamond bracelet.
Oh my gosh. That is so awesome. I love that story. And I can hear it over and over and over again. And yeah, it's sometimes it is a fairy tale, and that's what brings it all together. So that when you do go through the adversity, you can look at that diamond bracelet. You can remember the New Hampshire trip. You know, you have those things to look back to say, okay, I remember, even though he pissed me off, I remember who he is.
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah,
who he is was what attracted me to him.
exactly. Yeah.
Uh, the way he responded to people. I'm very observant of people. I looked at who his friends were. They weren't a bunch of, you know, crazy people. My friends fell in love with him. They,
Oh,
oh yeah, they were like, oh God, you, no, you didn't. I said, look, I don't know this man, but I just want you, you know, I want y'all to check him out now because you know I will let people go in a heartbreak. And so, you know, it was sort of like, yeah, he's cool. And he's what I wanted in a man.
oh,
And
wow.
so we met in July of one year and married in September the next.
Wow. Yeah. And that's when you just know. And I hear so many stories, quite a few of the couples that I interviewed, so many stories where the man just knew. He just knew the woman was right for him. Sometimes instantly, sometimes within a few weeks, but they just knew. And that's, I think those make the best stories when the man knows, when the man falls in love with the woman first. They make such a great story.
Yeah, and he kept telling me, I knew the night I met you. Because I remember we had this, and I'll stop talking about this. He kept asking me all these questions about, do you sing? Do you play the piano? Do you play the organ? So I found, I said, is this an interview? I mean, what are you asking me? He said, I'm asking you this because I'm in theology school and I am going to be a minister. And I said, oh, Lord. And then I remember telling him there was no way we could continue to date because I was not going to live off of a chicken dinner and a collection. I really did. I said, you know what? I tell you, I don't know about this minister thing because I grew up in the Baptist church and I know how they treat ministers. And I'm telling you, I have no desire to be poor. And that's something people should be clear about. Do you want money or not?
Right. That is true. Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to help get it? That's the other thing. Are you willing to put yourself together and say, all right, we're going to make this work now? And
Yeah.
he promised me that would not happen, and it didn't. And yes, he was a minister, and yes, he rose high enough to be the assistant to the bishop of the whole church. But at the same time, I was faithful too. I did lots of things to support him,
Mm-hmm.
lots of things, and as he did things to support me.
Yeah.
And he always said, people say, does Craig ever say no to you? I said, no. He don't say.
Yeah. I don't remember what Miss Lewis did when we first met, but I do remember when I was in mortgages, he was like vice president of a bank or something like that.
Yes, South Shore Bank.
Yes, yeah. South Shore Bank. And there's, such history there, just being vice president of South Shore Bank. But I also remember him giving me some advice, and I talked about this in Khyre's conversation, but I was doing 100% financing back then, and he wasn't doing 100% financing. And he told me, might want to have them have some skin in the game. You might want to have them put something in. And I was like, why would I do that? Like, I was so confused because I was new to the game, and 100% finance, it sounded right to me until the market crashed, of course, right? Yeah, he tried to warn me.
He was good. He loved, and he still does, helping young people and helping people move to the next stage. It's funny now that Khary is an adult in Sekou to hear them talk about what Dad said. I remember Dad told me, because last night we were on the phone with Khary, telling us that, Dad, do you remember when you told me blah, blah, blah about putting this into da-da-da and following the market when you do? And it's nice to hear that now because, your children are a reflection of you, no matter what they may act like. they do follow you, and
Yeah.
they remember things you say. And I think the thing that made his dad the proudest, not well, he's done a lot of things now that to make his dad proud, but he and his dad went to his father's 50th class reunion at Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, and they went together. And that was something that his dad will cherish forever, and Khary also.
Oh, wow. I can imagine that was a great experience.
Khary couldn't believe who his dad went to school with. He went to school with Pete Coors of Coors Beer.
Oh,
Pete
okay.
and his dad were in a rock band together. And I love both our children. They know how to walk both sides of the road. When I say
Mhm.
that, meaning on one side, you would think they came from gentry, and they did, black gentry. And on the other side, you think they came from a hoodlum. I don't know who the hell you, but they know that. And
Yeah.
they also learn those lessons well. And
Mhm.
that's another thing because, kids can break up your marriage. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yes. Let's go there. I like where you're going with it.
Kids can break up a marriage.
Yeah, and it's funny because people want to have a baby to save the marriage, but it's more likely that the other one would happen than the kid would save the marriage because they do like to pull all of your energy. They can create some divisiveness. And I've also seen where couples want to be the favorite parent. And so then the discipline is off balance. It's asymmetric because one person has to be more of a disciplinarian because the other one is not disciplining at all. So yeah, so many ways. So talk to me about how you make that choice to not let the kids come between the marriage. What kind of things do you do to keep that in line?
First of all, you need to communicate because kids are very, very bright and they know exactly who to mess with. For example, mommy said, I need to go to bed. And she said to ask you, wait a minute. Mommy told you to go to bed. You go to bed. And then you agree. Well, then I agree with mommy. And it's
Mhm.
that division that kids can do sometimes. They go to one and then go to the other if you two are not talking.
Yeah.
So if you agree that you're on punishment, you can't come to me to get off punishment
Yep.
because we have discussed it. And they used to hate that. And I said, oh, no, no. Everybody's going to do whatever dad and mom said, that we both agree.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. The other thing is caring for the child together. When you have a baby, it isn't all the mother's responsibility. Dad, you got to change a few diapers and babysit some and do all those things too, because it's our child.
Hmm. Yeah. And it may not necessarily be 50-50, but you do your part. You put a hand in, and whatever combination it needs to be, but everybody has their part.
Of course, there are times when I used to get so mad because Craig would act like he didn't hear a child crying. That's no way possible. That you can't hear a baby crying. I don't care if you put the pillow over your head, go down into the mattress, you hear that baby. But now, I also think in our 46 years of marriage, I think that couples are doing more together with babies. I really do. I think it's handled differently. But I still had him to do things I may not have liked the way it was done when I came back, when you had Khary tied to the sliding glass door with a rope around his waist and had given him some black licorice candy to eat. I wasn't happy about that.
Right. You're like, let me do it from here.
No, I didn't, because you know what? That was the purpose of doing it. Then do it. You'll do it the right way. See, men do things. Here's another thing in marriage. Men do things the wrong way so they don't have to do them anymore.
Brilliant.
I am serious. That is true.
I believe it.
If I mess this up, she don't be bothering me no more with it. Hell no. We're going to do it over and over again. And if you mess it up, I'll just accept it messed up. But you're going to do it.
Yes. And that's a great point that you make, accepting it, because I know a lot of times, I talked about this before, is we focus on what they're doing wrong. And in doing that, we just upset ourselves. They're fine. They're like, what you trying to do?
Are you saying for me to do so and so? And then we go to, I just do it myself. No.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit there and say, well, that looks really good. You know it doesn't look good.
Right. Yeah. Acceptance is a big, big part of it, relationships overall, because you've talked about compromise, you've talked about communication, but acceptance is a big part of having a happy marriage as well.
Of course. You cannot take out a piece of paper and put a body on it, draw it and say, this is what I want and this is what I want it to do. It's not going to be that way, because we're human beings. And we forget that sometimes in a marriage, because we think, well, now, and changing people in a marriage. Oh my God, I'm going to change him. I'm going to change her. No, you're not.
No, bad idea. What you're saying is, I'm going to frustrate the heck out of myself. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. And then I'm having all kind of fights over it, because you knew that he didn't have good table manners when you met him. Mm-hmm. And now you expect him to sit at the table with one arm in his lap and his fork on the right side.
Not
you should try working on that before the marriage. Say, look, you know what? Let's see if we can try that. And if he's real resistant, then maybe that ain't the person for you.
No, not if that's super important to you. Either you're going to have to find out before, or if you didn't find out till after, you might have to do some accepting.
Exactly.
If you want to stay successfully married.
That's just fine. Then y'all will be in there eating sloppy together and happy.
Right.
Nothing against that if you're happy.
Exactly. So I have two more questions for you. Because this is the Love and Money podcast, we've talked a lot about love. We've talked a little bit about money, but I want to ask you, because you talked about, you knew you didn't want to be in poverty. You didn't want to be poor. So that was part of, the idea that you have for your lifestyle. So as the years have gone on and you've went from that idea of, okay, I'm marrying a pastor, and now we found some financial success, what would you say has been some ideas that have been helpful in helping you guys get to your financial goals?
Discussing what we wanted to do in our careers was one.
Okay.
And Craig was just very successful. It just went from one thing to the next, and then they wanted him in the national office. Well, I knew I married a brilliant person, and so that showed off. I like to work, and I said, we're putting this together. So I went to work, and I was luckily very successful too. So that for us was not the hardest part. And we both liked nice things, and we knew we had to do something to get them besides sit there and wish.
Mm-hmm.
We put our monies together. We were able to buy homes. We worked hard at it. We looked at what was the next step that we wanted to take. And quite frankly, we're not the world's greatest financial planners, but we were able to get to a point in our retirement that we were able to purchase a home in Florida with pool and everything we wanted, just like we dreamed about. And we've done it. And now we're being very happy and pleased about where we are. And I think that you can become too money obsessed sometimes if that's
Hmm.
all you think about. You have
Yeah.
to think about others. The more you give, the more you get back.
Yeah. That's a great point. And part of what I heard you say too was that you didn't have to have the perfect plan. Like you weren't really focused on having the perfect plan. You just adjust as you go and continue to communicate what your needs and your desires are and then plan for that. It wasn't about having the perfect plan as much it was adjusting as you execute.
Exactly. I mean, we were just like, okay, we're going to make it and we'll do what we have to do. We'll raise our kids. And money did not become the obsession for us. I mean, because I know people who check their money account and they had to have so much in the pension plan. Well, for one thing, I was working here long enough to even have a pension plan. So we go on to the next thing. And as long as you are doing that, I think that that will help you relax some. If you're planning for a vacation, we always took the kids on great vacations and, but we were able to plan, say, okay, this year we're going to Martha's Vineyard. Well, next year we're going to so-and-so. And
Hmm.
we did things with other couples that also, you have to, everything doesn't have to be by yourself. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where we are not money obsessed people.
Hmm.
So it really didn't occur to us that we were trying to amass a lot of money.
That's funny. It went along with the territory. You focused on the why. And a lot of financial coaches, not all of them, some of them are, very focused on the dollar amounts, but a lot of financial coaches talk about the why, focusing on the why and not the money itself. And it sounds like you guys were focused on the why. Like, why are we working this hard? Or why are we, putting this money away? Oh, it's for the vacation. It's, for the retirement home. It's whatever it is, but the why is what you focused on.
We're not living like Beyonce and Jay-Z and never will. But we wanted to live well and,
Hmm.
be able to enjoy what we have. And I think that's what we're doing. Like we're going to a Super Bowl party Sunday and it's in Sarasota, Florida. Well, I don't feel like driving back from Sarasota. So we're going to stay over and then drive back in the morning. That's enough to make me feel like, oh, yeah, we can do this. And it's the smaller things that you get to do. We love people, we love entertaining. And that was one of the things that we have done. And people get the impression that we have more than we do because, one, I love to cook and entertain and decorate and see, I'm a Marshall shopper as well as a Home Goods, as well as a Ross. It's whether you know what you're looking for.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
know,
And you just made me think of another question, but I have to ask it. So I loved your house in Chicago. And I know you have a story about you loved it way more than I did and not really wanted to leave it. So, how, when you're putting the marriage first, do you not get attached to material things? What kind of work do you do on yourself to keep moving forward and not get attached to the material things?
well, you can always get some more material things.
Mm.
Seriously. And yes, I was super attached to that house, but this goes back to being married to a minister. And I always believed that God called him where he wanted him to go, even South Shore Bank.
Okay.
And so after I got over falling out and crying and saying I wasn't going to go to Minnesota and leave me alone and, you don't know what you're talking about, this and that else, I stopped. And I remember the day I said, God, is this what you really, I mean, okay, you haven't led me wrong yet. So maybe I should take my happy hips on to Minnesota and see what happens. Things were lovely. I always wanted to be a CEO of a large agency, because I love nonprofit work. I didn't know that I was going to end up being the CEO of the third largest Big Brothers Big Sisters in the country for 10 and a half years and raise as much money as I did. I didn't know that when I got there.
Yeah.
I trusted God and I trusted Craig. And Craig walked into a situation that people are still trying to figure out how the heck did that happen? He became the first Black pastor, and I would probably say only, of a 3,000 member Norwegian White Lutheran cathedral.
Wow.
And I said, well, that's all good and well. But anyway, and that had its ups and downs too.
Hmm.
But we still continued to move forward. And one thing I'd like to say to people about adversity Adversity will come to you. I'm going to tell you that right now. So don't expect that it's not going to.
Mm.
Your health can be a major issue. My husband had a severe stroke,
Mm.
and he's doing great now. He just came back in the house from driving the car somewhere. No one expected him to do that ever.
Yeah.
But I remember when the doctors talked to me about it, I said, he's going to be all right because he's got me.
Mm.
And I mean, really, they told me, we can't tell you what his prognosis is. One, not good. And two, he is completely paralyzed on his left side. But he never stopped talking. That was the one thing I can tell you. But I remember sitting in hospital and listening to them have a conference with me. And I said, well, okay, let me see him. So I went upstairs and I saw Greg, and he saw me, and he couldn't move a thumb or a toe or anything. And then they found another clot, which they had to do an angioplasty and put a screen next to his carotid artery. And through all of that, we made it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're still here, and we're going to have fun. Like I said,
Yeah.
we're going to the Super Bowl party. We had a black-eyed pea, collard green, gumbo, rib party on New Year's Day where we invite people over. And so we now know enough people here to have friends to come over for that.
Oh.
So we still do things like we have family. I can't wait till Khary and Sekou and their family come, because I think they're coming sometime in March. I love to do that. And you know,
Yeah.
we're active. He works
Absolutely.
literally every day at the gym. He works out a minimum of 5 days a week.
Mm. Yeah, and that's how he bounced back. He gave it his all.
He gave it his all. I have all
Yep.
kinds of remedies I make him take.
Right. Because like you said, he has you. So you weren't going to stop because you knew what he was capable of, and the doctors didn't know that.
Told my girls, you can't kill Greg Lewis. You know, there's some people you can't kill. And he is clearly, he is one of them. No matter what you do, is he still alive? Yes.
That's awesome. So that will bring me to our last question. I want to remind everybody, stay tuned to the end for the 5-minute activation. But our last question is the question that I ask every guest, similar to the first question. And that is, what is the best advice you ever received, or the advice you wish somebody would have told you about marriage?
Let me see. I think the best advice is, well, I'll tell you two parts to my advice. The
Okay.
best advice was one my grandmother told me, and I don't know what it meant, but anyway, she said, always fold your husband's handkerchiefs and put them in his drawer. That was interesting advice. She did. And then I think the next advice is, a marriage is not a singular thing. It's a couple thing.
Mm.
It's not about, well, you the head of the household and I'm the one that has to run everything and do it. But most of all, marriage is hard, and you have to work at it. You have to work a marriage. Just like you work a job, you got to work
Mhm.
a marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. Because if you're not willing to do that, if it is only about you, like you said, it's the whole, not the parts. So if you are the type of person where it's only about you, maybe you have some work to do. Because I find from the interviews that I've done, what's made marriage a little easier is that people are doing their own work, and knowing that they have to accept some things and listening to some advice, the good advice, of course. So that is really good. I like that.
Well, I would say the last thing is, if you tell someone you
Ooh.
forgive them and let it go. Because if you hang on to it, it's just going to build up to the next step, to the next step, to the next step, until when you fall off that cliff, it's going to cause the whole thing to go shebang.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out and talking with me. I truly enjoyed this, and I know the listeners will too. Great advice, great tips, tools, all kinds of things to fall back on. And if you ever want to come back on, we definitely will have you. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking me.
Welcome guys, that's our episode for today. But before we go to our 5-minute activation, I promised you I'd tell you how to become a prosperous couple. So as I said before, it takes two powerful people to become a power couple. And we'd love to have you and your partner join the Prosperity Club. Whether you want to start with the free version or jump right into the paid membership, it's a great value for your time and money. And it's really important that you both join because they're questionnaires and things you're going to complete that you'll have the answers to. But what's awesome is that you can share it with your partner so that you guys can get to know each other better in love and money. So for just $97, you get the Prosperity Club annual membership. You get 5-day prosperity challenge. You'll get Crash Course in Prosperity 7-day course. You'll also get the Prosperity Club monthly activities and accountability emails. And then you get the private Facebook group. So only the special insiders get special offers on the Prosperity Club membership and new courses that come out. So you've got to join the private Facebook group. So go to KeneQuarter.com/Facebook to join the private Facebook group. And then go to KeneQuarter.com/prosperity-club to get your membership today. That's KeneQuarter.com/prosperity-club. But all of that will be in the show notes. So go ahead and check them out. And I'll see you in the club. It's time for 5-minute activation, a quick financial therapy session to get you activated and on your way to increasing the love and money in your marriage. So can I get 5 minutes of your time? Just 5 minutes for a financial therapy activation. On this episode of 5-Minute Activation, I want to talk to you about planning your marriage like you planned your wedding. Now, it takes two prosperous people to make a prosperous couple. And we know that prosperity means different things to different people. So just because you get married doesn't mean your ideas automatically become the same. You have to work at it. You've got to discuss it. And one way you can do that is to join the Prosperity Club. Here's why. Each of you can define your idea of prosperity and design your prosperity plan. Then you can share it with each other to create your marriage money mission. Wisdom is knowing when to do what. A plan can help you do that. If you create your personal prosperity plan and share it with your partner, you all can get on the same page financially. And what a happy marriage that can be if you're on the same page financially. Here's an easy way to start. Try the free Money Mentality course to learn your money mentality. Because once you learn your money mentality, you understand your strengths and your challenges. You'll also get a 5-day prosperity challenge along with your free Money Mentality course. So you'll learn a lot about yourself and your idea of prosperity so you can share it with your partner. Now you'll both set up your own separate accounts so that you can return to it at any time. You'll want to review the videos. Sometimes you'll want to go over your answers to your questions, and you'll just want to track your progress. So you're going to get a personal portal just for you. So each one of you joins the free Money Mentality course. Take your Money Mentality quiz, learn your money mentality, share it with your partner, and together you guys can help each other strengthen your challenges and celebrate your strengths. If you like, you all can take the next step and journey together through the Prosperity Club. But in the meantime, just join the free course and enjoy it. Learn some things about yourself and your partner that maybe you just haven't discussed yet. Because what good is love if you don't like your life? And what I know for sure is if you don't like your life, you're going to use money to try and fill the voids you feel inside. But it won't work. This is why they say money can't buy happiness. However, money can buy happiness if you know what truly makes you happy. Remember, I've said that before. So take ownership of your own happiness by determining your true heart's desire. Know what you need and then articulate it to your partner. Learn your own and your partner's money mentality as well. And you can do that today by going to KeneQuarter.com/free-course. Check the show notes, KeneQuarter.com/free-course. But check the show notes and it'll take you there. Take the money mentality course and discuss your money strengths and challenges with your partner. Commit to supporting each other's challenges and complementing each other's strengths. Celebrate your wins together. Blaming and criticism don't work and they won't help. But what will help is having the same compassion for your partner as you would want them to have for you. So go now, KeneQuarter.com/free-course. Join the free money mentality course. Learn a little something about yourself and your partner. Get on the same page financially and determine your true heart's desire. Define your idea of prosperity and design your prosperity plan. That's all for now. I'll see you guys sooner. Hey guys, thanks for listening. If you want more love and money conversations, subscribe to this podcast. Also, tell your friends about us. I'll see you next episode. But in the meantime, head on over to presidentiallifestyle.com for more tips, tools, and resources. And go ahead and leave us a comment if you like. We'd love to hear from you. This show is not to replace professional counsel. The best advice comes from a professional you know. The topics discussed in this podcast are general in nature and are for entertainment and informational purposes only. We encourage you to meet with a professional to discuss your specific situation, whether financial or therapeutic. That's all for now. I'll see you sooner. Remember, no matter what anybody ever tells you, you can have wealth in all of its forms. Believe it, and you will soon see it.